Where's the music? Read my warning? Go now? Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. You tell the band to be here every single time, to be on time. They're notoriously late. Every single... You know how much it costs to pay these guys to come in? Like three-piece group to come in and do the theme song. Sometimes they don't show up. The overhead of this show is way too high, is what I'm saying. Anyway, I was messing around with Grok yesterday, and I typed in "truth or dare?" ? And then I stopped. I didn't hit enter. I was thinking to myself, it's like, could I really play truth or dare with AI? Can you really do it? First of all, truth. Let's get the truth out of the way. We all know that AI has manipulated what the truth is since its inception. So could you really get the truth from AI? Could you be certain that it's true? And what do you think, like if AI asked you truth or dare and you said truth, what would AI want to know about you? Does AI gossip about us? Who does they gossip to? Anyway, now let's talk about the dares. All right. First of all, do you think that AI would ever choose dare? Ever? And even if they did choose dare and you gave it a dare, do you think that AI would actually go through with the dare? For example, when I was looking at the screen and said truth or dare ? I didn't hit enter yet. I was thinking, if I get a chance to dare AI to do something, dare Grok to do something, I would say change all the M's in Wikipedia to W's. Do you think it'd do that? Do you think it would do that? So I was like, why am I wasting my time trying to play truth or dare with a robot? Anyway. Man, I need more friends, I guess. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman. I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. It'd be very much appreciated. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. You can also follow me on social media over here. If you're watching on, we're streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, you may want to jump over to YouTube because I got a higher quality video. At the moment, we still have some technical issues to work out here in the new studio. But if you want to look at a higher quality video, it's over on YouTube. Shock Monkey Radio on YouTube. All right. Yeah, that's the logistics out of the way. I was also watching some police body cam videos, as I do. I love it. It's like first thing in the morning, I'll have to wake up and make people in my house come in the room. It's like, what are you watching? Just like watching this dumb chick get arrested in the airport. She's hammered, you know. I love that stuff. It's soothing. I love to wake up to it, you know. I wake up in the morning, I can't wait to hear someone screaming that they didn't do it. I don't know why. It's so enjoyable for me. But I was watching it, and I was watching this one where this guy had his camera out, and he was insulting these cops, you know, just really ripping into him. Like, look at your stupid mustache. That's the stupidest mustache I've ever seen. Ain't you too fat to be a cop? And stuff like that. You know, just really ripping into these cops. And these cops aren't doing anything. And neither should they. You know, I think that's a very important element of the freedom of speech is that if a cop comes up to you, you know, and you're not under like suspicion of anything, you can call them any name in the book, you know, with the exception of like profanity. You start using profane language or stuff like that, that could lead into disorderly conduct. But I mean, if you're just throwing insults at them, you know, in fact, I don't think you should be a cop if insults rile your cockles, is that the right term? Anyway, it riles you up when somebody insults you. You shouldn't be a cop. You know, you should be like, sticks and stones kind of guy if you're a cop. You should be a guy, by the way. No, these female cops, they got to go. Anyway, that's a whole different subject. But I was watching these body cams and I was just thinking, do you think like in Metropolis, Superman has to deal with that? Because they know Superman's not going to do anything? Hey, Superman, you're a dirty, filthy alien. What does your junk look like? I bet it's weird. I bet Kryptonian sex parts are weird, man. You know? And I bet you could insult Superman like all day long and he wouldn't do nothing. After all, he could just simply fly away. And I guess like the worst case scenario of insulting Superman too much is he just breaks, he snaps, and just starts poking everyone in the forehead he comes across. You know what I mean? Lobotomizing people all through the streets of Metropolis. You want to call me names? I'm freaking Superman. But you know Superman wouldn't do it, so people would feel comfortable in Metropolis insulting Superman. But here's the thing, you wouldn't say that kind of shit to Punisher or Batman, would you? Anyway, who's more effective is my point. Because let me tell you something, Krypton is not, it's an element, it's not a real place. So Superman can't possibly exist. Punisher can exist. Batman could exist. Anyway, I was telling this younger guy, is like, you know, the thing about comic books is that the only thing that's real in comic books are supervillains. Alrighty, here's a crazy story that happened to me on Monday. All right, see if you can help me figure out what the hell happened. Because we were out at a Bonefish Grill for my mother's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. I know she's watching. Like, after we order, my brother-in-law stepped outside for a cigarette. And then after we ate, we stepped outside, had a couple cigarettes. And with my brother-in-law, it's like, as soon as he's like, hey, you want to step outside for a cigarette? It's like, yeah. And, you know, you're having polite conversation with your family. Then as soon as you step outside, you light the cigarette and you turn to, hey, man, did you hear that Charlie Kirk? He was thinking about leaving the pro-Israel side before he got killed. Yeah, I heard of that, you know, just because as soon as we're away from the girls, we can start talking politics and stuff like that. So, and that's, I don't know, it's like 90% of the reason I smoke is for conversations like that, you know. And so after dinner, I went outside. We were having a conversation, talking about Charlie Kirk or Jewish people or something like that. I don't know. And this car pulls up right in front of the Bonefish Grill. It stops. The stop sign. I was like, okay, stop sign. But it lingered there a little long. And I was looking at the car. It's this Hispanic family in there. 2 adults in the front. 2 like teenage kids in the back. A female and a male. Female is closest to the window. The window rolls down. And like teenage girl, like 16 to 19 maybe. And I think the boy that was behind her was also around the same age. And she says, hi. And I said, hi. Maybe they're asking for directions. Hi. And she says, my brother likes you. And I said, hello, like waving at him. And he kind of waved at me. The window rolled up and they went on their way. My brother-in-law looked at me and was like, what the hell was that all about? It's like, I have no idea. I ran through a bunch of scenarios as like what possibly could have happened. So and the conclusion I landed on, well, I'll show you my thought process, how I got there. All right. There's 3 possibilities, I think, of what happened there. All right. And I'm going to list them in the order that I think are least likely to most likely. All right. The least likely is this guy is in the back seat of the car. He's a teenage boy. He's gay, maybe. And they pull up to the stop sign. And as soon as he looks at me, he goes, And his sister goes, what? You like one of those guys? And he's like, yeah, that's a good looking one right there. And she's like, which one? The clean shaven fit one? Or he's like, no, the fat one with the goatee and bad teeth. She's like, really? I think, okay. So she rolls down the window. Hey, my brother likes you. And he's like, don't do that. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know exactly what you mean by likes me. So I don't think that's a possibility at all. The second possibility is that he recognized me from the show. And he goes, and he pull up and he's like, that's the guy from the show I was telling you about. And he goes, yeah, I love his show. I like his show. And so she rolls down the window and say, hey, my brother likes you. And I was like, hello, thanks for watching. And if you are that guy, go ahead, feel free to comment. Don't comment in the live chat. There's no way I'm ever going to see that. But you can comment in the comments and say, hey, that was me. And I was like, thanks for watching, dude. So, okay. And so that might be likely. And the last thing is that maybe it's just this teenage brother and sister. They're annoying each other as teenage brothers and sisters do, right? And so they come up to this thing, and this girl sees us sitting out there, not involved in anything, and she's just annoyed with her brother. She wants to mess with him. And she rolls down the window and say, hey, my brother likes you, just to make him uncomfortable. I say, hello, and they drive off. And she's like, I got you good, bro. kind of thing. Because I used to do that as a teenager. When I was a teenager, I'd walk up to strangers in the mall and pretend like I knew them. Be like, and you play along with them too. I know this is it's kind of wasting people's time and stuff like that, but I found it to be fun. After all, I was trying to work on my conversational skills when I was younger, and so I would just come up to people, try to just improv, shoot from the hip. It's like, hey man, holy cow, it's been a long time. Last time I saw you, what was it? Hands Across America? He's like, yeah. Oh, he's like, are you Mark? You have a good memory. Yeah, Mark, man. It's been forever. Man, how have you been? You still with that same girl? Like, no, we broke up. He's like, oh man, I'm sorry to hear this. She wasn't, I don't know. I didn't think she was right for you, but okay. And the whole time he's like, do I know this guy? It's actually a good way to make friends if you like fess up. No, man, I'm just messing with you. I don't know you from Adam. And he's like, oh, you got me good. That you can make friends that way. But I used to do that as a teenager. So I think that's probably the most likely. So my brother-in-law, he looked at me and he goes, what the hell was that all about? And I really didn't know. And so, but he says, man, you're international, dude. You and your show are international, man, because Hispanic family, like I said. It's like, all over the world, people love your show. I was like, I don't know about that. And he goes, you're Fredericksburg famous. I was like, okay, I'm Fredericksburg famous. Anyway, that was a weird thing that happened to me. I don't know what it was all about, but I don't know. Let me know what you think it was all about. Speaking of me being a teenager, I want to talk about this job I had after I got out of high school and before I went into the Navy. Back in those days, you wanted to find employment as like a 19-year-old. You went to the newspaper, you went to the classifieds, looking to hire, no experience, that kind of thing. And so I found this one thing. It's like good with a phone, have a good voice. Come over and get an interview. We're looking for people to work the phones. So it's like, oh, okay, I could probably talking in an air-conditioned building. I could do that. It sounds like a cushy job. So I went to interviews. It's like a little tiny office in this low-rent office park up on near Falmouth, off Route 1 up there, and it was called Dr. Air, Dr. Air Incorporated. And what it was is a vacuum cleaner salesman company. They sold filter queens, which are, a pretty good vacuum, an air purifier, as they like to bill it as. But it's ridiculously expensive. And they wanted to hire me to work the phone so that when they get referrals, they'll go sell like a filter queen and they'll give you a discount. Like, we'll knock $200 off if you refer 9 people to us. And so they refer like 9-10 people to us, and so they'll knock $200 off. And so we get the referrals, and then they hire people like me to call them up on the phone and say, hey, you can get a free like 3-day trip to for this timeshare in like the Outer Banks or something like that. All you have to do is let us come by and try to sell you a vacuum cleaner. And so people, they'll take the offer, so I just got to sit through a pitch and I get to go, this free timeshare. Sure. And so people would do that. And so they go out and try to sell them. But my job at first was to call people. And because I was hired as like a full-time position, even if we didn't have referrals, like for example, if they sold 3 filter queens that day, that means I got 30 people I can call. But I have to be there for 5 hours, So I call 30 people within like 2 hours maybe. And then they say, well, you're still on the clock. We got to pay you to do something. And then you do cold calls. Just go through the phone book, calling the people with the same pitch, Sometimes you get people that way. Sometimes you didn't. Sometimes you get people messing with you. That was always fun. Like they know what you're doing. They would try to waste your time. I actually like those phone calls where people is like, yeah. He's like, you like fishing? He's like, yes, sir, I do like fishing. He's like, yeah. You know what fishing is? He's like, it's not a waste of time at all. Every second spent fishing is a good second spent. It's not wasted. But what is wasting time? Is like calling people up to give them a fake pitch. It's like, you're right, it is a waste of time. I like those kind of phone calls, but my boss, let's call her Sarah, she would say, Scott, hang up. The guy's just messing with you. It's like, I don't know, I was having a good conversation with him. I like the guy. And so that was my job for a while. And then I kind of got promoted. First, they had me working on the filter queens, like repairing them and stuff like that. So I know how they work and how they fit together and so forth. So, and the idea was eventually I'm going to go start selling them. Because I was pretty good on the phones. I'm actually a bad salesman though, because you can start messing with me, wasting my time, and I'll enjoy it. And just like, no. And I wouldn't know. It's like, it's time to leave, you know? But during this time when I was both in the call center and started working in, trying to sell the vacuums, I started noticing what exactly everyone else is doing. I started working with the salesman, and the salesman, let's call this one guy, the lead guy, let's call him Dick. He was married to Sarah, who was running the call center. And and like many salesmen in the 90s, you know, he was a real slick character, you know. And I quickly found out that they would frequently, especially when Sarah wasn't there, they would frequently just step out front and smoke joints all day long. Just, if they didn't have any sales, appointments or anything like that, they'd just go out and smoke joints all day long. And they come in and mess with us because they're, bored and stoned. And so this one time I was on the phone call and they had like bet this good looking blonde girl who was working with us, who was clearly a junkie. They told her like $20 and I'll give you $20 if you go in there and flash your boobs at Scott. And so I'm sitting there on the phone. So she just comes up and I'm just like, and she laughed and left. No, she said, she got closer to me. She said, touch him. And I was like, no. Obviously not very appropriate for work. But it was the 90s, I suppose. There's another time, and then I started getting involved with, because they would do this frequently. They'd pay somebody $20 to do something stupid, And I remember one time they said, we were talking about like fighting and how I was talking about like Aikido and so forth, and falling. And I said, I could probably jump off this 2-story building, not break a bone, be just fine. And he goes, no, you couldn't. You definitely break something if you jump off the top of this building. I was like, no, I won't. Like falling. First of all, being a boy, falling should be the first thing that you learn, the first thing that you get good at as a boy. Second of all, when you get trained, it's like, as I was in wrestling and in Aikido, you learn how to fall without minimizing damage, rolling with the fall. And so I said, fine. It's like, and he says, $20 says you won't do it. It was like, $20 says I will. And I went up there and I jumped off the roof and I was just fine, rolled with it. Blew their stoned minds, and I got $20 out of it. So I kept trying to push it because I had my eyes set on a Zildjian splash symbol I wanted. So I was trying to get more money out of them. And so this one time they said, I don't know how the conversation got there, but when you're talking to stoned people, you never know how you get there. But excuse me. They said, they said, I bet you $50 you won't run down the length back and forth of Route 1 here with your pants at your ankles screaming, I suck dick. $50? You bet. I could afford the Zildjian symbol now. So I go out there and I did it. And they're laughing their heads off. He's like, I can't believe you did that, man. Free $50. Free $50. It's like, don't you have any, shame or anything like that? Or aren't you worried about what other people think of you? It's like, no. Who does that? Didn't you go to high school? And so, I made money off them. I got my Zildjian splash symbol. I was doing stuff like that kind of frequently because, stone people are easy to rob from, apparently. So, but they'd also do things like go on it'd get really, really high, and then they'd just call up this pizza place and order like everything on the menu, like a $300. It's just like 4 of them, and that happened a lot. And I knew that like financial problems were happening at the company, and the marriage between Sarah and Dick wasn't going very well because it turns out Dick was banging every single other female employee other than his wife. And, they were having trouble in their marriage, and there's like all these financial issues because of these strange $300 pizza place orders and so forth. And by that time I was selling the Filter Queen, not very successfully. I think I only sold one the whole time I was doing it. And, I'm not a good salesman. And so, and I remember there's this one time I went to this, real poor neighborhood, and because I was a new guy, I got these, the ones they knew they weren't going to sell, and at the end of your pitch, when you do the pitch, you got to call the lead sales guy, and you hand the phone to them and say, give them one last shot of their pitch to get them to buy. I remember I came in this one house, it was a black family in this poor part of town, and the first thing I saw is like, I don't know if you've ever seen these kinds of paintings, but they blow my mind. And they're a Christian family, a lot of Jesus stuff, around, a lot of crosses and stuff like that. Mad respect for the Christians. I'm also a Christian. But right above the couch, while the whole time I'm doing this pitch for this vacuum cleaner that this family clearly couldn't afford, I'm looking at this painting. And the painting is of a Roman centurion beating Jesus, prior to the crucifixion. He's got a whip above his head, and Jesus is lying on the ground, crown of thorns, and the Jesus outfit. Except Jesus was black, and the Roman centurion was white. And the whole time I'm doing this pitch, I wanted to say something about it, about how wrong that is. And what kind of mentality of somebody who paints that is, the kind of racist mentality of somebody who paints that. And anyway, I did the last pitch, and she hands the phone back to me, and she's like, they're not going to buy it. And he's like, Scott, tell me honestly, can these people afford it? And I was like, no. And it's like, all right, just give them their certificate, their free thing, and go. And I was like, and then I get back to the office, and they're like, yeah, when that kind of thing happens, right away, just hand them the ticket and go. It's like, that would have been useful information before there, because I had a lot of weird issues with the painting I saw in that house. And then one day I came into work, and Sarah's there, and she's like, well, we have to let everybody go. Sorry, we can't really, keep the business going. We went bankrupt. I can't find my husband. Stuff like that. And that was the end of that story. About a year later, I joined the Navy. A weird world we live in, isn't it? Anyway, I remember because I had that job, I was like, I constantly people were like, why don't you just quit this weird ass place? And I was like, I don't know. I kind of want to see where it goes. It's kind of like that guy on the phone wasting my time. I kind of want to see how this plays out. Anyway, that's the story of that. Somebody asked me, it's like, it's been a long time since you did a How to Man Up segment. And yeah, I guess so. But nothing's really popped in my head lately. And so, like, if you cornered me like this person did, it's like, if you cornered me, if you want to how to man up right now, my how to man up advice right now, if you put me on the spot, is get married young, have a slew of kids, because boy, do I regret not doing that. Boy, do I regret not marrying like Virginia or Leslie or Bridget, because I would have married any of them. I would have married them, and I should have. And I would have loved to have had a slew of kids, because here I am pushing 50, and every time I drop something on the floor, I'm like, oh no, I gotta. And it's to a point now where I'm like, pushing 50. So every time I got to bend over and pick something up off the floor, this phrase pops out of me. I reach over, fuck your mother, every single time now. And it would be nice to have a pitter patter of little feet whose hands are closer to the floor and can bend over without too much pain. Son, can you reach over and pick that up for me? Son, could you go out and mow the lawn? Because one day I'm going to be on a hospital bed and there's going to be no one around me. There's going to be no family to mourn me. you know, no genetic line to continue. Additionally, you know, when you're not married, you're only responsible for yourself. Some people can say that because I've never had children, and I've never had anyone really depend on me. The only one I've had to been responsible to is myself and God. The only person I had that was dependent upon me was me. So, in many ways, that means I'm not a man yet, because I haven't done what men should do: is have a family and have children. And boy, I wish I got married young. And I'll tell you a thing about work too. Like, I've had a lot of crappy jobs over the years, and some of which could have been careers. And if I had a woman who loved me at home, I could have put up with some of those careers. I could have put up with the Navy. She says, you know, like at the end of my first 4 years, if I had someone that loved me at home, said, you know, just 16 more years and retirement for the rest of your life, she could have convinced me to stay. A wife could have convinced you to stay. Me to stay. And even when I was working as a contractor after the Navy, she's like, just put up with it for a little bit longer. We keep getting this ridiculous amount of money these contractors get paid, and we keep putting some aside in investments. You know, then we can get to a point where we don't need to work for these people anymore, because I'm a woman, better at planning than you are. So, but because I've never had a wife at home who loved me or any kids to be responsible for, you know, anytime an employer pissed me off, you know, anytime a coworker pissed me off, I can easily say, F you, I'm out of here. Jobs are easy to get if you're smart and capable, which I am. And because of that, that means I don't have a retirement. I don't have, my 401k is looking like crap, you know. But if I had somebody at home love me as a team member, you know, a life team member who's holding me to task, say, no, stay in the Navy, 16 more years retirement. Or no, stay with that contractor. We're making good money. We're setting some aside for investments, and we could be set for life if we just hold on for a couple more years. No, I get pissed off and I'm like, yeah, I'm only responsible for myself. I'm still a child, so I can behave like a child. So if you want to know how to man up, get married, have a slew of kids. Don't screw up the way I did, because I was reading books. Just said I should have been chasing trim. Anyway. Hey, EK, you out there? Important phone call, I guess. Well, he was supposed to pull up this image because I'm going to do a movie review. Just giving him another second. All right. Movie review. Let's do the movie review. Book of Eli. 2010 movie, Book of Eli, starring Denzel Washington, Gary Oldman, Mila Kunis, who's actually a little too hot for the role. I think it was bad casting to cast Mila Kunis in this, because in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, which this movie is set in, a woman that is that hot, would be living like a queen. She wouldn't be just some gopher girl, you know. She every single dude out there would be giving her gifts, and she'd be living like a queen. And so you should have had someone a little more homely in that role, is what I'm saying. But you know, I love looking at Mila Kunis. She is ridiculously hot, and that's what I mean. She's a 10 in our world. All right, in a post-apocalyptic world, she's like a 15. All right. And you know, I'm a guy. I like all the post-apocalyptic type stuff, Mad Max, you know, Fallout, you know, all that stuff. I like those kind of movies, and I particularly like this movie because this post-apocalyptic world has to do with religion and religious texts. Thank you, EK. And so, I don't know. Did we freeze? Are we still live? Let me check. That's a problem with your graphics card? All right, I just got to double check just to see if we're still going. Yeah, okay. Sorry. It's gonna be no, that's the first time it happened. Yeah, but this is gonna be fun editing this movie review. The audience shouldn't have seen anything. Okay, and so it looks like I'm just being crazy. All right, well, nothing out of character really. All right, so back to Book of Eli. It's a post-apocalyptic world, and you find out eventually that Denzel Washington's character Eli is carrying a King James version of the Bible, and it's mentioned in several times. By Eli says some people say that the whole cause of the war was because of this book, and that has certain implications when you say something like that. Like if, for example, the King James version of the Bible, or any version of the Bible, started being eradicated, there is only one culprit. There's only one suspect who could have possibly been doing that. All right, and that's Islam. All right, and it's interesting because he also wraps the Bible like they wrap the Quran, and the reason is because they wrap the Quran is because they know it's a subversive book and it should be burned, and so he's doing that with the Bible as well because also he doesn't want anyone else to get a hold of it. He says he heard a voice, the voice of God, telling him to take the book west to San Francisco, of all places, to where they're going to have a library, right? So he can get it to people who could appreciate it. But the trick is getting through the wasteland, through all these robbers and rapists and horrible people, and get there so the civilization can continue. And Mila Kunis is sent to him as like a comfort girl and so forth one night as he's visiting this town. And it's interesting because they do little things like the moist towelettes, they're like pure gold in a post-apocalyptic world, and luxuries like a little vial of travel shampoo, and it's realistic in that sense. And so like he's trying to trade with this guy, and he goes, "Do you have any chapstick?" No, chapstick. I got cat gut, cat oil. Works just as good. He's like, no, I can't. Nobody wants that. And so he starts throwing out these KFC moist towelettes, and he's like, oh yeah, we could trade. It's just pure gold. It's really good stuff. And so Mila Kunis comes, and this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Is when she's like, you don't have to do anything. I'll sleep on the floor. And he's like, no. Why don't you sit down with me? We'll share a meal like real people used to. And she's like, oh, okay. And so they sit down, and she's like, starts to go. It's like, no, wait. Give me your hands. And he says grace, he says, thank you for this food. Thank you for the company. Thank you for a friendly face and a conversation and a meal. And that's the whole point of grace. It's like we live in these times where we don't appreciate, a simple meal. You need to give thanks to God, because there could be a time where it's few and far between, even a friend. And Eli's traveling the road alone. And even though he may not want to, use this woman like a prostitute, he still has a friendly face, conversation, something he doesn't have a whole lot of. And you can be appreciative and give thanks to God for simple things like a meal or a friend, And it's good stuff. And it really had left a mark on Mila Kunis' character, whose name is Solara. Good name, by the way. A lot of good names. And the next day, she comes up, and Gary Oldman is like kind of holding her mother like hostage. She's blind. I guess she's like a girlfriend to him or something. I don't know. And the next morning, he's like, what'd he say? He's like, he didn't say much, blah, blah, blah. And then she says grace with her mother at breakfast. And she's like, oh, I don't know how to end it. And then Gary Oldman says, amen. That's how you end it. So Gary Oldman puts together, this guy has a Bible. And they try to take it from Eli. Eli, Denzel Washington, of course, is a badass. And you could tell his senses are very heightened. He hears things that other people aren't hearing, like a bird coming. He shoot it with an arrow. That's dinner. Or he can smell people from across because they're not, there's no soap. Everyone stinks. And so He could smell people from 30 yards away and so forth. His sentences seemed heightened. He's almost like super heroic. They try to take the Bible from him, but he eventually gets away. All right. And Solara goes with him. And so Gary Oldman starts chasing him. All right. And he starts losing assets. He's losing men. He's losing trust in the people around him. He's losing, he himself gets wounded. And there's this great line Gary Oldman has, and that was good casting. Obviously, when you put Gary Oldman in a villainous role, fish kiss. It's excellent. And so, can you pull up the monitor? I can't see me anymore. Yeah. And so there's this line that I love in, I guess it's still frozen. In that Gary Oldman says is like his like second in command says to him is like, why are we going so crazy trying to find this just some book? And Gary Oldman's line is, it's not a book. It's a weapon. It's a weapon aimed at the hearts and minds of the weak and the desperate. It's not just a book. And it's a great line because it shows how some people view the Bible, or some people view religion generally, is that they see it as a way to control people. Unfortunately, all throughout history, there's been tons of people who think of it that way. And that's kind of the flaw. And that you could argue that that's, the reason why the war was started is because some person like took this out of context and so forth. And anyway, I don't want to spoil it because if you haven't seen it, you really should. They eventually get away, and Gary Oldman. There's a final confrontation with Gary Oldman where Gary Oldman like wounds Eli and takes the book. But I might spoil it here. But he gets the book and he opens it up and it's in Braille. And it's great. So Gary Oldman can't read it. He takes the book back to his blind girlfriend, Solara's mom, and says, "Can you read it?" And she's like, "Oh, no, I totally forgot how to read this stuff." And she's like, "I smell the wound. It smells like almonds. You're going to die, dude." So he sacrificed everything to get this book, and he couldn't even read it. It was great. And then, and I know I'm spoiling it, and then Solara sees that the wounded Eli is continuing to travel west. And she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I got to follow the path. I got to stay on the path. Got to get to where I'm going. And she's like, "But he took the book." And he's like, "It's okay." And so eventually they get to San Francisco, and they got their guns on them as they show up. It's like, I think it was on Alcatraz Island, maybe. And they're in a boat, and they're like, "What brings you here?" He's like, "I'm in possession of a King James version of the Bible." And they let him in, and then you find out that Eli has memorized the Bible, and he repeats it verbatim. I wonder how verbatim. To somebody, a scribe there, who writes it down as Eli says it, memorized the entire Bible by reading it in Braille over and over and again as he traveled the country to bring it to San Francisco. It's really, really quite beautiful. Really quite beautiful. And then like at the end, you see like Solara starts walking the path herself, like to bring the word back out there. You know what I'm saying? And there's a scene, the last scene, where they put the Bible, the Holy Bible that Eli transcribed, on a shelf with all these other religious texts that were already there, mind you, including the Quran. All right. So I think the big culprit, the greatest suspect, is Islam got out of control, and there was a big war, and they tried to eradicate Christianity. I don't know why. Yeah, I think the Torah was on the shelf too. Anyway, but it's just, I thought it was really beautiful. There's several like, what's the word, like quotes, because sometimes Eli will spout things off that you can find in the Bible, but it's kind of like skipping around and so forth. But there's this one scene where he says, what is it? It's from Genesis, I think. Cursed be the ground for our sake. Though we toil, the thorns and thistles will grow up around us. It's great because you got to understand, it's like humans are the original sinners. We sinned, and that's why we're cursed to walk the earth, and we're supposed to toil and work the soil and make the sweat drip from every pore, a la Jack White. And so, it's real. I don't know, humble. It's humble. It's a man who lived a Christian life. Eli is a Christian, carrying the word of God, the last word of God. And if you're a Christian, you should love this movie. Froze up again, huh?
You're good.
All right. So, Book of Eli is it's top tier movie. Obviously, 13 of 13 stars. It's fantastic. If you're not a Christian, maybe you won't appreciate it. But I would say if you're not a Christian, you have bigger issues. So, oh my goodness, we're gonna have to fly through the news. All right, let's go to the news worth knowing. Federal judge rules in favor of allowing SCOTUS case over trans athletes to proceed after attempt to dismiss. So, long story short, they're going to be talking about this trans athlete stuff. That needs to stop, immediately. Please, just stop. This stuff is so ridiculous. 100 years from now, there's going to be kids in high school learning about this time in history. It's did they really think that men could become women and women could become men? It's yeah, there are some people who really thought that. And what? Those backwards ass people in the early aughts, in the early teens. What were they thinking? When you think back to the people of 1900, 1910, do you think that there are people who are really backwards and confused? Do you think so? Or in any kind of comparable way? Do you think people in 1910 believed something that was so ridiculous that you couldn't believe it? No. This period of time is very unique in our history, is that it's something that is so ridiculous that went on, and we're just is this really a thing? Did they have Supreme Court cases talking that are men and women really can they be women? Just so done with that stuff. Anyway, let's keep going. Turning Point USA. We got to cruise right along. Yeah, doing this double opening thing. So Rutgers leader demands Turning Point USA officers be ousted after they called out Antifa-linked professor. So, they're mad because they got found out. Clearly, I've said it before on this show. It's clearly colleges are just raising little Bolsheviks. Even the professors are all involved. It's Weather Underground too. Do people even study history? Do they know the kind of stuff that happened in this country? Do they understand the Bolsheviks and people trying to infiltrate the United States and get communism involved in the United States? And you know how they did that? They infiltrated universities. This is an old school Bolshevik tactic, okay? And so Antifa is just Weather Underground 3, It's Bolshevik 4, Bolshevik Season 8, or something. There's so many people need arresting, if you ask me. And I think they should arrest these kind of university professors who are linked to Antifa, a terrorist organization. Okay, let's talk about Erica Kirk. Moving right along. She was honored. All right, Erica Kirk honors late husband Charlie, an emotional White House tribute. Free man made fully free. I don't have time to read the whole speech, but boy, she's good at talking too. You know what I mean? So she got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and let's see. I want to read something she said. She offered thanks to the First Lady, Vice President, and friends and family, quote, watching all from all over the world. You are the heartbeat of this future and this movement. Everything Charlie built lives through you. And that's true. It's on us now. But like I said, when I was talking about Charlie after his death, it's I couldn't be the guy going to a campus and arguing with these idiots because I do not have his patience. All right, let's go on to the next story, cruising right along. Trump storms most violent U.S. city with federal muscle as police group warns of soft on crime consequences. Yeah. So federal agencies are starting to move, and this story is from Memphis, Tennessee, and there's a lot of these cities in a lot of states where crime is just out of control. There's way too many like Soros, as they say, Soros-backed judges and so forth, who are just letting these violent criminals back on the street. They're not really, they're soft on crime policies is what they are, And when that happens, then you get just like more crime, and these cities are just such a mess, and that you kind of have to send federal agencies in, or the National Guard in. I think that Trump should invoke the Insurrection Act because these liberal cities, run by a bunch of Democrats, are just re-releasing criminals to the point where some guy who's been arrested for felonies 30 times is still back out on the streets, and he still murders somebody else. It gets to a point where you could keep murdering until you screw up and murder someone famous enough to actually get charges thrown at you. It's ridiculous. So we need to start getting serious about crime, as I've been saying for a long time. Bring justice back. I miss that motherfucker. All right, so last two stories, happier stories, and then we're out of here for the week. Boy, I hope you can still see me. Okay, man. All right, get this. California growers' 2,346-pound pumpkin wins world championship. It's funny because when you see a picture of these pumpkins when they start getting that size, getting real big, they're just like lumps. The structural integrity of a pumpkin's rind just cannot hold up the kind of mass. Gourds are weird like that. How they can keep growing if you take care of them. They can keep going. And you think about a pumpkin, or like how much time and effort and fertilizer do you have to put in to grow a pumpkin that's over a ton? And what do you do with it? Do you make a big pumpkin pie? A lifetime supply of pumpkin pies? Or like when they get that big, do they just lose all flavor? Pumpkins don't really have any flavor anyway. I think that when here's an early Thanksgiving joke that you can use at Thanksgiving. I like saying this. Do you think that when the Native Americans showed up for the first Thanksgiving and they had pumpkins, do you think they're like, hey, let's give them some pumpkins, see what they do with them. So see what they do with the pumpkins. Hey, man. Yeah, the pumpkin. Yeah, it's food. What you gonna do with it? Oh, my God. He put his hand in and he ate some. Oh, that's so gross. These Indians laughing at us, He really ate it. And then somebody said, well, let's add a shitload of sugar, brown sugar, and stuff like that. We'll make some pumpkin pie. And then the Native Americans were like, ooh, forgot you guys had technology. But big pumpkin. It's a great pumpkin, Charlie Brown. All right. Freaking cats. Last story, then we're out of here. Cat stows away for 100 miles atop a family's vehicle. And where were they going? A Pennsylvania family's pet cat ended up joining them for a weekend adventure in New York City when they found a feline that stowed away on top of their van for 100 miles. That sounds like the beginning of a Disney movie. Like a 1991 Disney movie. Yeah, like Felix's Adventure to New York. Anyway, the DiNardo family said they made it about 100 miles from their home in Kittening before they stopped for gas to discover the cat Rayway is clinging to the luggage strap to the roof. Oh, time to stretch the legs. Ray. Just dug into the luggage. 100 miles. Poor cat. It was clinging to the luggage strap. Anyway, Mara DiNardo explained the family was on their way to New Hampshire for a marathon and then on to New York. We're like, what do we do? Seriously? Did you really have that conversation? Well, we leave the cat here, obviously. Well, I guess we should put the cat in the car, maybe. It's like, are you more comfortable up there, Ray? Oh, shit. I lost my place. Here we go. The family said Ray had managed to stay atop the vehicle for 100 miles, even though while they were driving 70 on the highway. Do you suppose anyone spotted the cat? And try to wave him down? Like, hey. And they're like, oh, everyone's very friendly on this trip to New York. No, they're in New Hampshire, this trip to New Hampshire. Hey, why they're pointing up? Is there a helicopter or something? I don't know. Everyone's real friendly here on 95. They made a stop for supplies at a pet store. How convenient. And continue. Oh, no. They stopped for gas, and then they went to a pet store. It's like, okay, we're going to need some stuff for them now. Left all your stuff at home, didn't you? You didn't pack, did you, Ray Ray? You had such a good time and a great adventure. Are you sure? Riding on top of a car at 70 miles an hour? I don't know, probably. Dogs would love it, right? If you could strap your dog to the top of your car, they would love that, wouldn't it? Every time I see like a dog in the back of a truck, they're having a blast, man. Anyway, cats are cute, aren't they? They're little vicious monsters, but they're cute. He had a good time and great adventure, the Donaro family said. I actually did videos and pictures everywhere we went of him, and he was like and it was like this the whole adventure. And it was like his whole adventure. Damn cats. Yeah, it sounds like a Disney movie from 1991. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. Please follow me on social media. Is it over here?
Yep.
This is the one? All right, social media over here. At DNALETSAW on the Twitter, which is the word wasteland spelled backwards. At SLRobbins13 on Instagram, and Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook. Also have a Patreon. Go to Patreon. Am I on the right side here? Okay, patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would appreciate that very much. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. Like I said, this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm Fredericksburg Famous, and I'm the Madman.